Royale? I think yes, and obviously the goal of a game like Clash Royale is to have every card be balanced, except for obviously the new evolution. But there are like 120 something cards in the game, and there are a lot of things to balance. Can we fix the most useless cards in the game? Now we have a list of cards, starting off with the mirror, and I know that some of you guys are fans of cards on this list, and I know I'm gonna get attacked in the comments. Actually, mirror works for me in Stop it. Mirror is one of the worst cards in Clash Royale. Why is this? Well, I think it's because of the +1 elixir cost. Now, what the mirror does, I don't really want to explain what the mirror does. You play the card that you just played for +1 elixir and +1 level. I feel like having the +1 level, although it's a really nice interaction, is not worth paying an extra elixir for. And we all, maybe not we all if you're new to Clash Royale, but some of us remember the original mirror buff when they gave it +2 levels. It was the most broken thing we've ever seen in the history of Clash Royale. Okay, maybe not. It was up there. So buffing something like the mirror in order to make it relevant, I feel like we can go either two ways: buff it, rework it, or give it an evolution. That's three ways, but whatever. I think you buff the mirror. Now, what you do, I think, try this. If it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board. Cut the level buff out and cut the elixir cost buff out. So just make it straight. I play the exact same card I just played for the exact same cost. Because the problem with paying an extra elixir for the same cost is you can't justify paying an extra elixir for that same card over paying the same elixir for any other card. Like, if I have a Musketeer Evo, or I have a Musketeer, right? Why would I mirror my Musketeer when I could play a Wizard? Like, I know Wizard's really bad, but for just +5 elixir range troop, it could probably do the same or more for the same elixir. Or why would I not just play a different 4 elixir troop? Like, there's no point to mirroring things for the extra elixir cost. It's never worth it, except for the one time you can vaguely, like, maybe use a spell twice and catch your opponent off guard. But yeah, if that doesn't work, maybe consider keeping the level buff and keeping the same elixir cost. That might be too broken, but we'd have to see. Next up is the Rune Giant. She is bad, bro. And I mean bad. I just mean she is straight garbage, and I have seen one person use her in the last, like, 2 months, maybe longer, of me playing the game. Rune Giant, completely dead on top ladder. I imagine completely dead on mid ladder as well, and that's just because she doesn't provide any value outside of, she doesn't play any defense. She's just a mini tank that does barely any damage, doesn't have much health, and her buff expires as soon as she dies. So since she's the tank, she's going to be the first one dead, usually, unless she's behind maybe a golem or something, which I feel like probably isn't worth, being behind a golem. But when she has the permanent effect, I think she's just way too good. So we have to find a fine line to not have her be completely broken and not have her be completely dead. Here's what I think could help. What if the attack she gives, instead of being a flat 314, is we could go two ways. And this time it's actually two ways. Give her a flat percentage buff on the damage. So based on what card you're using, they get like a percentage bonus damage when they're attacking. And instead of every 3 shots, make it every shot. So like you can either make it every shot, like with how it is normally, which I think would be really, really, really broken, or you could do the percentage based thing. So things that attack very fast aren't getting big of a bonus, but they're getting a lot of bonuses. And things like the P.E.K.K.A. would still actually gain value from being with the Rune Giant, because they get a whopping percentage bonus on top of that. Let me know what you guys think, of course, of all of these ideas. And if you have any good ideas, because you guys probably have better ideas than I do, let me know in the comments. Clone, I don't know. I genuinely, I'm lost. Clone is really bad, and I feel like there's only one thing I can think of to make the clone a little more viable that they usually don't do, because it's a big change. But given that we're in the state of Clash Royale where every single deck has a clone answer, and there's at least 82 cards in the game that counter the clone effectively, paying 3 elixir for a clone, you may see where I'm getting with this, it's just almost never worth it. In the very, select circumstance where your opponent has 0 splash cards, or doesn't have arrows, or doesn't have poison, or doesn't have anything, then you might get value out of the clone. I say, why not try making the clone 2 elixir? That way, it's less risky to play, and it's more of a, because right now it's high risk, no reward, basically. You're paying 3 elixir for basically nothing. A giant skeleton bomb cloning is really fun, but why don't we try making it 2 elixir? And that way, it's a little less risky to play your clone and to run clone decks, because you aren't instantly getting punished for a ton of elixir deficit every single time you play the clone. Void! It is, well, I think one of the worst additions Clash Royale has ever added. Yes, I did get a really good finish, or actually 2 with the Void, because of how broken it was. but still completely unhealthy concept. In case you didn't know what it was like on release, it would just completely nuke things. Like it would just completely nuke 5 elixir troops, 6 elixir troops, do way too much damage. And now it just got spayed. It's completely neutered. It doesn't even kill like wizards or e-drags or stuff, or i-drags and stuff. But I feel like you can't have a 3 elixir thing that does that, and it kind of really shook up the game too, because a lot of the don't give your opponent spell value meant don't put things close together, and now you introduce this and it's you want things close together, and it's just kind of, it's a whole spiel. But the problem with the void is there's no circumstance where it's worth it. Now it doesn't do damage a good, like look at what it just did to the barbs. It doesn't do damage to one single target, and it doesn't deal damage to multiple targets. So I feel like something we could do to make it a little more viable is maybe not quite as much as arrows, but make its 2 and 5 or whatever this threshold is damage do more, so it's like a little bit more viable of a small spell, because it is 3 elixirs, so it's not exactly a small spell. It should be more on par with arrows, but we don't want to make it do exactly the same damage as arrows, right? Because that would make, what's the point of using arrows then? I guess the radius. But you could see how it's so hard to balance this card. It should just be in the vault. It should have never been added to the game. But I feel like this is kind of boring, but buff its like damage when there's multiple targets, so it's more on par with arrows, and you can actually justify using it because occasionally it'll do more damage to single target units as well. It's just, God, it's void horrible. Now, battle healer is where things get really interesting, and I'm gonna throw an idea out there that sounds ridiculous, but you have to, okay, you don't have to, but I'd love if you stuck with me on this one. Battle healer is useless outside of E-Golem, and I guess occasionally Golem, and it's really painful to deal with in E-Golem and Golem decks. It's just, you sit there and it just heals infinitely. You can't kill it because there's so much girth and tonnage you have to deal with. It's like impossible unless you have really good defensive like decks. It's just, it's a nightmare. So what we should do with the battle healer, hear me out. I almost said heal me out. Instead of her healing every time she attacks, which I think is broken, especially because you can't really like damage her that well, why not have her heal in an area around her while she's not attacking, and give her a big damage buff so that she's able to be used as an actual mini tank? The reason she's not used as a mini tank, okay, hear me out, is because she does like 80 damage. And so you're never gonna, it's not worth it at all. She doesn't do any damage. Why would I not use a Dark Prince, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Valkyrie Knight, etc.? Just hear me out. She heals while she's not attacking, okay? And that way you actually have to be forced to deal with her, but she's not healing while she's attacking, so she's easier to kill. And at the same time, she should be more viable because she gets that buff to the damage. Now, if the card is completely broken and oppressive, then we could take away the damage buff. But I feel like that could be a thing that really kind of switches it up and makes it so like maybe stacking battle healers isn't, a thing. And, because she's not really like a card that needs a nerf or is oppressive, but it's really broken in this like scheme of deck she's in. And I feel like that could be nerfed. And, on the list, you could justify giving an Evo to. But here's the problem, okay? Let's look at a card like Mini P.E.K.K.A, which has skyrocketed in use rate recently. The goal of go back to the E-Barbs for a second. The goal of the E-Barbs, pressure and DPS. I can get pressure and DPS from multiple other cards for way cheaper. Like, I could, instead of running E-Barbs in my deck, run Bandit and Mini P.E.K.K.A and get the exact same thing, except cheaper and better. Like, E-Barbs are way too expensive for what they do. They're way too easy to counter, unless your opponent obviously is just dumped all their elixir out. The E-Barbs just, you can't justify using them over, like, when I say DPS unit, you can throw guards in there. You can throw Gob Gang in there. You can throw Skarmy Evo in there. Why would I use E-Barbs? Like, there are cards out there that are way more versatile, way more easy to play, way more risk-free, because, of course, they're not 6 elixir, and still apply pressure. Like, I can get pressure out of a Golden Knight, just as much as I can from E-Barbs. It's not really something that scares me. E-Barbs used to be, the terror of the arena, especially when they got that one buff a while ago that you might not remember. But yeah, I think you could justify giving him an Evo. That's outside of my pay grade. I have absolutely no idea. I should have probably thought about it before I put this video together. E-Barb Evo, I don't know, man. I think that the E-Barbs are just like, they're so expensive that it's like, you can't justify playing them. But I think they'd be broken if they're 5 elixir, no? But I mean, I hate to just throw, we should make them a cheaper elixir cost. But really, E-Barbs just don't do enough for 6 elixir. And I think making him 5 elixir might be a good idea, but that also might be completely stupid and broken. So, because at that point, why would I use normal barbs? You know, so there's definitely a fine line. Maybe an E-barbs Evo that like I haven't thought of yet. But let me know in the comments. Now we've got a tower troop on this list too, and it's the Royal Chef, because I think the Royal Chef extremely unhealthy for the game, and now he's just dead. Like, you could, there's ways to release things that aren't completely broken or just dead, right? I hope so. Now I have an idea. Instead of, because what's really broken is level interactions. Everyone who's under leveled knows how broken level interactions are, and I really feel for you guys. But the Royal Chef giving things an extra level just messes interactions up, and it makes the game way more complicated, way more difficult, makes things that shouldn't happen. And here's a way to fix that. Royal Chef, to justify him being a complete traffic cone on defense, make it so that he gives pancakes out more frequently, but instead of giving a level buff, it gives a rage to the troop. Now, think about this. It's a permanent rage. Okay, maybe, see, I say permanent, maybe that's just completely broken, but I feel like having a rage standardized, like time that it is on the Lumberjack and the rage spell, and then having another one that's different on the Royal Chef isn't good for like keeping consistency, but maybe permanent rage is broken. 30% of like a buff is crazy good, and I feel like giving that to a troop would be really nice, and it would keep interactions the same. It just has that still bonus that makes maybe using the Royal Chef worth it. Maybe we don't have to tweak the pancake time, maybe just a couple of seconds. Maybe it's fine just having it the same time as it is now, but giving it a rage to the troop would keep all the level interactions the same and would still make it dangerous and worth using, because you don't have to be running a beatdown deck to have that be valuable. So who knows? Okay, this is my most fun one yet. And I think the Barbarian Hut rounds out the list of like, these cards are just really bad right now. You turn the Barbarian Hut, 6 elixir. As a person who needs to, like, you need a building in your deck to counter win conditions. You need to be spending 6 elixir every time you need to pull a win condition. That's not feasible at all. Even if you're running a very fast cycle deck, there are so many times you're going to be caught with not enough elixir to deal with this. Dude, this is the stupidest idea, or maybe the brilliantest idea I've had yet. Since the Barbarian Hut is like, well, in the most circumstances, why would I not just play normal barbarians? They do the same exact thing as the Hut almost every time. It's like, I don't know, but turn it into a freaking ballistic barbarian launcher, okay? Now, I know that people are like, oh, barbarian mortar, because that was a thing. No, barbarian ballistic, like, you put the Hut down, same amount of HP, and there's like a ballista that comes off the top of it, and you're like, you aim at the win condition, or like you aim at it, like there's a radius around the barb hut, right? I don't know how wide it'd be. We haven't thought this out very well, but it comes out and you shoot the ballista with a barb in it at the win condition, deal big impact damage, and have a barb there, and maybe you have an attack speed for 5 seconds, similar to the mortar, and you deal big damage on impact, and you summon a barb. And you have the HP from the barb hut, right? So now you're getting big damage. Like, I mean big. Like, I want big, like 600-700 damage per hit. And make it like really worth using. Like, I want it to be able to shred win conditions. And this way, you don't have the problem of a barb hut that just sits there and gets crazy value because you can't break through it, right? It won't be spawning barbarians, but it will be a really expensive defensive building that, again, spawns barbs after it shoots the barbs at things. And it'll be hard to break through. But again, it's 6 elixir, so it would be worth it. And maybe, you know, we can make tweaks to it based on how much damage the ballistic missile does. And you know what? I think that's actually a brilliant idea. I actually cooked with that one. I'm sorry. I cooked with that one. And that makes it our list for the total cards that are impossible to use right now. I was told to put Heal Spirit on there. I disagree. I don't think that's a good idea. And also, if you have any cards that you think are really bad that I didn't put on the list,